House Bill 83, new legislation that impacts you and me and our firearms. Approximately 4% of our state are registered gun owners. That means about 1 out of every 25 people have access to a registered firearm. This may not seem like much, but in comparison to Nebraska, the next most closely populated state to us, they only have 1 registered firearm to every 135 people. Now, surely we can attribute this significant increase in registered guns to the fact that we are the 3rd largest state in the union. We have tons of open area and a huge call for sporting events involving firearms. These statistics reflect the large population that would be impacted by any new or proposed legislation coming down the pipeline from the 2019 Santa Fe legislator. With the massive amount of media attention being given to mass shootings, gun violence, and overall gun safety, it's no surprise that our state is taking steps and measures to help protect us. House Bill 83, an Extreme Risk Protection Order Act, is perhaps the most controversial one left to be voted on. Today we're going to talk a little bit about, first off, what is a bill or a House bill, what is inside House Bill 83 that we need to know, and what makes it so controversial. Let's start with what is a House bill. According to House.gov, the United States Representatives online resource, it states that every new law starts as an idea. This idea can come from the population, the constituents of the elected officials therein, or the elected officials themselves. Once this idea is created, in order before it ever becomes a law, it has to be a bill. A bill is a proposed new law according to WebsterDictionary.com. Now, every new bill must be sponsored before it can ever be brought to the table. We can thank sponsors Damon Eli and Joy Garrett for bringing about House Bill 83 to the floor. Every bill, once sponsored, will go before a committee. This committee's sole job is to study every single bill it gets, to tear it apart, break it down, and make sure at its core that it benefits the constituents, it does not go against the U.S. or state constitution, and according to House.gov, it must relate to the current topics being presented in that legislative session. Now, once that bill is on a committee, it's been torn apart, broken down, and assessed for constitutionality, it then goes before a vote. Now, this vote can approve the bill, in which case it goes to the next step, which would be the Senate. It can veto the bill, in which case it gets tabled for another session or perhaps taken away altogether. Or in many cases, it becomes amended, where they add to or take away to better fit what they believe is correct. Now that we know what a House bill is, let's talk specifically about House Bill 83. House Bill 83 is a unique gun control related bill. Its specific purpose is to provide additional protection to those who feel they are in extreme risk. Now, an extreme risk protection order directly correlates to the Family Violence Act, an existing act that's been in place since 1985. According to nmlegislative.gov, this act is designed to protect people who feel that they are in harm's way from household members where they live. House Bill 83, an extreme risk protection order, would allow officers to confiscate firearms in specific situations from individuals who are believed to be a harm to others or to themselves. The way it works is the petitioner, defined by nmlegislative.gov as any household member, relation of, or officer, would petition the court saying that this individual should not be allowed to be around firearms. Should the judge approve this, it would then become up to the enacting law enforcement officials to go and confiscate guns from that individual. This is actually not a criminal matter at this point. It is strictly civil. An individual would have 15 days before the court date would come up, and they would have a chance to state their case as to if they believe this petition is in fact in order. Now that we've talked a little bit about what House Bill 83 is, let's dig into what makes it controversial, the pros and cons to it, and exactly what our state is doing to enact it or to fight it. The appropriate responding agencies who would be allocated to go and confiscate these firearms have very strong feelings on this matter. However, the Santa Fe legislation has already passed this in a preliminary vote to potentially go to Santa Fe Senate House to become a law. The difficulties in enforcing this bill is what has brought the controversy to the table. Many believe it would be an infringement upon our Second Amendment rights, the right to bear arms. Others feel it also is difficult to enforce as it would put law enforcement's lives in danger. Many people have such strong feelings, as we can see from the news and the media, about gun violence as well as the right to own guns, but it has put this bill firmly in the path of controversy. There is more clarity coming out every day about exactly what the purposes of this bill is. The specific purpose, according to KOB.com, an online news station resource, is to protect the individuals who feel threatened in their own home, or to protect individuals who they feel are threatening themselves in their own home. Now that we've talked a little bit about what a House bill is, what House Bill 83 is, why it's controversial, and what makes it such a big issue, I'd like to remind you guys that with New Mexico ranking the 4th in the nation of gun ownership, this impacts a lot of people. The more that we know and the more we understand, the better we can take action to support or to not support our elected officials in the bills being passed for our own protection. Eddy County specifically is a Second Amendment sanctuary county. That means, according to Sheriff Cage, in this county, we will enforce the Constitution of the United States before any state legislation being passed. That's not a refusal to enact the new law, but merely to take into effect due process. The lack of due process in the bill has been one of the most controversial topics. Again, I would like for you guys to keep in mind that House Bill 83 is designed for protection, it's controversial, and it is still not yet up for law. Thank you very much. Have a great night.